Welcome everybody to the first AGM of the Globe, 2025 under the 2022. I just remind you all we are live streaming, so just be aware of that. As far as they're concerned, it's lovely to see so many people here. We had been a great turnout at our initial meeting, and that seems to be carrying on, which is absolutely fabulous. Without support we're getting from everybody in the time, this entire project would never have happened. So many thanks everybody who has joined us in this endeavor. It's so important to the town. On the main agenda, we are one item one is core. We have item 2, additions to our approval of the agenda. That is not necessary in this case. Declaration of conflicts of interest, there are none. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Okay. I'm chairing the meeting. My name is Doug Smith. I'm a former mayor, but I'm not here in that capacity at all, and I'm at Tourist District.
So I'm Bill Blythe, and I'm current treasurer of 3.
I'm Mark Keeley. Everyone knows that.
I'm Joe Byford, backdrop.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm Rachel Kelly, I've got direct opportunities space.
Approval of the previous minutes. It's redundant, as this is our first AGM, so you can have your previous minutes, which is rather nice. The chair's speech, everybody here is fully aware of what this is all about, so there's no point in me going hanging on about the history of how we got here, and you've heard it all before. Suffice to say that we're absolutely thrilled to be here tonight. A long time ago we thought we didn't get to this stage, so it's absolutely magical. And the main thing is, without your support, this would never happen. So I was just, instead of making a long drawn-out speech, I would just like to convey my sincere thanks to everybody who's here and everybody who has supported the project. I'm going to hand off Bill now to receive the payments for the year 24-25, item 4 on the agenda.
Thank you, Chair. So, as I said earlier, my name is Deputy William Blythe, Treasurer of the Globe. Day job is Vice Principal down at Petroleum College, but similar to and here is an individual resident, qualified accountant representing the contract of Petrol. So, as Treasurer of the Globe Hotel Torrington Limited, it is my absolute pleasure to present our annual accounts for the period ending the 31st of March 2025, and you should all have a copy I will share on said accounts. Before we open up to discussion, I'll just give you a short overview, particularly for those of you that have not had the chance to read the full report or have chosen not to. When the accounts are closed, the company yet to complete the purchase of the hotel. However, as you will all recall, we were fully engaged in the community share issue, which we feel was an ambitious and inspiring campaign that invited our community to become shareholders and take a direct stake in the future of the Globe. I'm delighted to confirm, as you all know, that since the close of the accounting period, our share offer was successfully completed and the purchase of the Globe has now been finalised. The building is now owned outright by our community, held in the name of our Community Benefit Society. This represents a tremendous collective achievement, the results of extraordinary commitment, generosity and belief from you guys, our members and supporters. These decisions reflect both good governance and a pragmatic approach to running our community business efficiently, whilst maintaining transparency and accountability. In financial terms, our revenue during the period remained steady and costs were well controlled. The statements show a healthy base from which we are now building. With the acquisition completed and operational planning underway, we move forward from a position of real strength. Just need to let you know that they held a special general meeting on the 18th of August 2025, where several important resolutions were passed unanimously, and they relate to the business of tonight and to the accounts. The first one is that under the accounts audit heading, it was resolved under subsections 83 brackets 2 and 84 that our accounts need not be audited, allowing us to manage our financial reporting proportionally and cost effectively. And you will see later on there is a similar resolution for the 25-26 accounts if allowable. Rule 43 was amended to set the quorum for general meetings at 10 members or 10% of the membership, whichever is the greater. In this case, very clearly 10% of the membership, which is why Doug and colleagues were just checking plurality, ensuring flexibility as our membership grows. Membership confirmation, all applications for membership were formally accepted, with members notified that their membership became active in August. The full accounts include the Management Committee's report, the Independent Accountant's review, and detailed financial notes. I look forward to answering your questions and discussing our next steps together as custodians of this remarkable community asset. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for your continued commitment, hard work and belief in what we are seeking to build here at the Globe. And I recommend the accounts for approval.
Can we just take a show of hands that we accept those accounts, please? I'm not going to count, but it looks pretty well unanimous to me. Any against? One against? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So the total administrative expenses for transparency were 55,763, as set out on page 3, and in terms of the details of so that will primarily be the costs associated of our part-time substantive employee workshop. Before you.
So most of it has been so around actually project management of business planning and also general assignment principles.
So Rio, we had a company with Rio that's producing our business planning. As Rachel said, we had Simon who was advising on selling the company. And so it's those sorts of expenses. Apart from Rachel.
None of the directors are. If you were at the previous meeting, you would have met Simon. He was here explaining all the nitty-gritty news and
and to be clear, the proposition is that all the groups remain non-integrated as part of our
oh yes.
Should we make a practice that somebody speaks in the auditorium and repeating the question?
Of course.
For the sake of online viewers.
Of course.
Yeah, actually there should be a roving mic. I'm not sure where.
So the question, in case anyone couldn't hear it, was could we get a breakdown of the administrative expenses on the last page of the accounts, the 20,579.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Are there any other questions? I don't see any at this stage. And we've taken a show of hands that we accept that. We're moving on to item 5.2 on the agenda now, so I'm going to hand over to Rachel.
Thank you. So 5.2 is the voting in of the new board. All the current board, as per our rules. So our rules are on our website, if everyone's ever clear about our rules. The resolution numbers that Bill was just referring to, they are all on our rules on our website, so do take a look there if you're not sure. So all the current board members, they stand down, but they are available for re-election. All the nominees of the board have completed a statement which has been on the website for the last few weeks. And nominees are Doug Smith, Penny Macy, Bill Bly, Mark Healy, Jane Moffam, so the existing board has been stuff forward, and Grant Manaf has put stuff forward to stand for the board. I also had a couple of emails since we closed that board nominees, some other people that would potentially be interested. Unfortunately, you can't go through establishing processes, keeps the names down, but what we can do is that the new board needs to check our skill sets and decide in what to co-opt anybody else in. So, given that we've got 6 applicants and we have up to 10 board member places, rather than doing originally we planned to do voting in first past the post, we don't need to do that now. So what we'd like to do is a show of hands to give them some kind of agency and approval by membership that's in favour of them carrying through to the next vote. So I think asked for, I don't need first and second it, it's already on the agenda. So our show of hands is happy that we accept one of those nominations to the board. So again, it looks really broad, so it might be easier to say who has got would like to express concern about this than as the that's we've got your hand up. That's great, thank you very much. So all of those directors, all those nominees now become directors. Well, I don't know, I mean obviously they're not directors at this meeting because of the AGM, and they officially become directors at our first board meeting, and that's when we go through and allocate the roles. So who's going to be chair, who's going to be treasurer, who's going to be secretary, etc. So that's when we allocate those places. But Grant, I don't know if you want to stand up, either come down and join the end, or just show your face and yeah. So hopefully most people know that Grant is in a fantastic position to be on the board, as Paula and Grant were the tremendous champions for this project and absolutely gave us all the time and the space we needed to raise this money. So thank you so much to both of you. It's massively appreciated, and we need that time.
Yes, item 6 on our agenda is a project update, again, by our
Yes. Right, okay. Public speaking. Oh, sorry, it's a question.
CCGS, particularly, you have not
The research by Wong with his sort of power here and his gang.
done the approval of the council.
So we haven't done the resolution as to whether or not auditors are appointed for the year we are now in.
I was under the impression that was part of the
So we noted that we previously sought to appoint an auditor. This is allowed under our rules for the 24-25 accounts. You are absolutely right, we should ask for a resolution to either nominate an auditor or accept an auditor account from fund of 6.
And you've got a show of hands who for against the
Is this a query or is it a show of hands?
It's a query at this stage, yes. I'm just interested now that we are likely to be in a situation of receiving many hundreds of £1,000s of grants. It does seem rather more appropriate, particularly for those awarding the grants to us, to see the auditor's signature at the bottom of our accounts now. I really think we should have a will.
I think when it's £62,000 for total expenditure, I think that's a decision that those Kelly be cancelled. I suspect with regards to the value that actually ours will not allow us to she wants to come to from it. So if it is the one meeting, I'd be very happy. You suggest that we should talk to.
Are we talking next year, or are we talking this past year?
No, the current 25, 26.
I just wanted to clarify, because I know that's going to be an expression problem. So we're happy to have
Secondly, the military units, the defenses and the
What skills I'm bringing to the project and why the board hired me last year, actually this year, January, and to hopefully instill some confidence and explain why the board should take me on. I'm a founding director of an organisation called Uninflected. We are 5 women who decided in our town something needed to happen. Raised £5 million, and have watched it, and we built, how much did I just say? 7. Sorry, we raised £7 million. And we built a successful regeneration project called East Key. Restaurant, art galleries, workshops, tourist accommodation, and I project managed that build through Brexit, through COVID, and through the main contractor going bust. So I think hopefully the board could see that I was kind of resolute and tenacious and good with dealing with problems. It took us 10 years, but we did it. And the building, which won REBA Southwest Building of the Year, and we were lucky to be the REBA Client Nationally of the Year, which was fantastic. And the building's now in its 5th year of trading. So I've done smaller projects along the way. And now that our main building at East Key is up and running and in its 5th year, I act as a consultant and project manage elsewhere. I really enjoy solving problems, and so luckily the Globe was a great fit for that. And now that we've bought the building, the real work begins. So, firstly, hopefully you're all familiar with what a community benefit society is, because you're all in it now. It places more emphasis on the community. The support now from the community is tangible. It's there in the form of financial investment. You've all parted with your money to show your belief in this project. This not-for-profit model is really popular with funders for this reason. Quality is kind of hard-baked into the principles and the rules of the organisation. There's one vote for one member for one shareholding. Doesn't matter how much you put in, you've got one vote, so everyone's equal. And community benefit society is a beautiful blend of social enterprise and community, where business meets social impact. You'll all be familiar as well with our objectives, but I just wanted to flag them up because this is at the very core of this project. This project is not just about renovating the Globe. It's about creating jobs and training. It's about economic growth and development of the town. It's boosting visitor numbers and support for local businesses, heritage and culture, all done through an environmentally sustainable lens.
I mean, it's not possible, obviously, but we will try to make Torrington an even better place to live for this generation and for the next. So the share issue, what an amazing achievement. Thank you so much, everyone. You should all give yourselves a big clap on the back. I was waiting then for that. They missed their cue. So the share issue closed 2 months ago. And after combining our online crowdfunder shareholdings and the offline investment, we raised 246,000. And that was from 700 shareholders. That is a lot of members. That's a lot of emails. So please, if you sometimes don't get an email from me, do let me know, because it might be yours is bouncing, because it's quite hard to check all of them. Most shareholders invested between £50 to £100. That covered 600, and then the rest made up a larger investment, along with a chunk that came from Cooperative Share Booster. It's nothing to do with the co-op shop. Don't go spend all your money there. It's the Cooperative Society, which encourages community benefit societies. We completed the purchase of the hotel in September, and again, many thanks to Grant and Paula, who gave us that extra time to reach the investment we needed. Our costs were then the purchase, and then we had the cost of the fees from crowdfunder and all the different banking applications, etc. We had share issue costs such as accreditation and the preparation of our share offer documents. We had conveyancing fees, we had buildings insurance, and then some bills and utilities that we took on cost of ownership from the start of the purchase process. That means we're now left at the moment with just under 36,000, which is our working capital, which is unreserved and is a great match for our funding applications going forward. So the funding required. So at the moment, the share issue and the business portfolio, business plan, is all based on our existing concept drawings. And the anticipated cost by the then architect was 5.602 million. Now, these drawings were put together about 3 years ago. And since that time, the need of the community has changed. For example, in the concept drawings, we have a community work hub space, while Castle Hill has happened since then. So we very much, this next period of time is when we'll be reviewing those concept drawings, and I remain hopeful, as I'm sure everybody does, that we can reduce that potential capital expenditure by cutting our cloth slightly to fit closer to the need. So far we have secured 600,000. That's from the share offer, working capital. That's from the levelling up funding. And I'm delighted to tell you all that we've also now secured support from the Architectural Heritage Fund. We have got just over 70,000 of support from them. It's the Phase 1 development funding, and many of the funders like you to do a Phase 1 with them before they then want to work with you on the main capital build. So it's really important that we develop these kind of relationships with the funders. So now that we own the building, we can turn our attention to the main capital funding pots, such as the Heritage Lottery, which has pots up to 10 million, looking at the Architectural Heritage Fund, main capital funding, Historic England, reaching communities. And it's really important that, to know that we couldn't have applied for any of these funding pots until either we had a long lease or owned the building. So once we've got more design certainty, then we've got more cost certainty, and we go through the concept drawings, and we've got a more accurate then kind of cost report from a QS. Then we're in a place to start thinking about the grant funding for the main capital build. The tender window for the architect and QS, quantity surveyor, has now closed, and the new board will meet and to consider the tenders that we've received. And that means we'll start developing schedule of works and cost plans, which means we can start reviewing the drawings and start getting repairs done and really get cracking on things. So the work that's needed on the building, we are going to be allocating the levelling up and the 70,000 from the Architectural Heritage Fund and the remaining share investment to immediate repair works. And then the full refurbishment will be from main capital funding pots and applications. So current procurement, as I mentioned, we've had an architect and quantity surveyor procurement process, and the tender is now going to be under review when the board meets, and we'll be appointing them in November. We are very keen to start immediate repairs on the windows, certainly the windows that will struggle to get through this winter. And we're also got a tender open for a facilitator for our advisory panels, and an asbestos refurb and development survey, which we're currently accepting submissions for. Once we've got our QS and architect, we'll carry out an independent roof survey, and that means we can put a tender out with some accurate schedule of works for roofers to then quote, and we'd like to get that happening in mid-November. Certainly after a rainy day like today, we're all very anxious what's happening in some of the rooms in the building. As a funded project, we really need to adhere not only to our own procurement policy, but also to that of our funders. And we've introduced weighting into our tender judging matrix. It's quite a mouthful. Anyway, we'll consider where somebody is based when we decide project. And as long as they've got the skill sets and come in at the right kind of level, then there is a weighting towards local businesses. It's really important that we don't carry out work now that ends up being redundant. And we have been caught slightly between not being able to go out to procurement because we haven't completed purchasing the building yet, and the weather coming at us from the other way. So, you know, we are trying to kind of keep things moving on that. Panels. So we're really keen to ensure that the community, businesses and training providers and users have the opportunity to feed into the project and into the design. And so we're going to be running panels in late November through to January. Lots of people have already said they'd like to be involved in that, which is great. So either drop me an email or as you walk out just past the ladies' toilet, there's a large brown piece of paper that I've put on the wall, and it says, do you want to get more involved? There's some post-it notes there. Scribble your name down, put your name, put your skill set, say I want to help painting, I want to be on a business panel, or I want, you know, make contact there, or come and see me afterwards. It's really important that everyone feels they have an opportunity to feed into this project. So what's the next steps for the large capital funding pots? Well, as I've mentioned, we need to really interrogate our current concept drawings, and we need to start developing them, and what I'd call reverse engineering, so making the build cheaper than it currently is, but not losing the design quality. We're going out to, so we've run the successful share issue. We've drawn down the levelling up funding. We're starting to. We draw it down each month. We have to report to Torridge District Council who hold it. We are developing relationships with the major funders. As I say, we've got the 70,000 from the Architectural Heritage Fund, and I've been in conversations with the Heritage Lottery that give pots of up to 10 million. And they're very interested in this project, especially now the AHF are also involved, and we'll be submitting phase 1 to them. Maintaining community engagement, so again the AGM and the panels, and we'll be looking to potentially co-opt more board members if we find we've got a skill set that we need. I know that we're particularly keen to find a company secretary, and I wondered if the gentleman that very kindly pointed out the error sounded like he'd be a marvellous company secretary. So I've got my eye on you. We need to ensure we've got evidence of need and community use. So what we'd like to do is start, it all depends on what we find when we start the repair work, but we'd like to start some kind of meanwhile use of the downstairs area next summer, whether that's pop-up events or certain bar nights or food nights or supper club nights and start using that space. The main capital funders would like that as well. It really shows that the community is behind the project. Where have I got to? Evidence of need. Drawings to REBA Stage 3. So as I've mentioned, we need to carry on developing the drawings, and we need to be at what's called REBA Stage 3 for the capital funders to be ready to invest. And that means you've developed your drawings to a stage where you'd be ready to submit to planning. If you need planning, we may not. And it means that you've got more cost certainty because you've developed the drawings to that stage. We're looking for partnerships for delivery. Well, now we own the building, we can really start expanding on that. I've had conversations with several training providers. I think it's really important that we know that we design a space that works for training that we'd like to deliver from that space. But then there's also a lot of work around not just the building, but developing those partnerships. So working with the schools and thinking about how do those funnels for apprenticeships start working now, because we're going to take several years to get all this work done, and we need to make sure that that work's happening in the schools, and so that that we know where we're working towards. And we need a responsive business plan. The business plan needs to keep changing. It needs to be iterative. Things are going to change. God help us, not another COVID or Brexit, but things will keep changing, and so we need to have a business plan that reflects that. So the broad timeline is October for our first AGM, thank you very much. And then through to next spring is when we hope to finish some of the immediate repairs. Then we'd look for the full refurbishment to be going from 2026 through to 2028. And then fully operational, serving cups of coffee, flushing toilets, lovely comfy beds, etc. By 2028. And that is once we start trading, and that's when share interest also starts to become involved. And one thing I didn't mention on the share issue is we are looking to develop a login page on our website, which means that you'll be able to log in and see your shareholding and the details attached just to your shareholding. If you change your telephone number or your email address so that you can see it there, and that will start to become important when we start paying interest or when people start withdrawing their shares, or so in a couple of years it'll be more relevant, but that's what we're looking to develop. I included sets of the concept drawings, which I'm not going to go through, they're too small to see, but they are in the packs that we've handed out. It just gives you an idea. They are on our website as well. It gives you an idea of what the architects were thinking 3 years ago. I've been told that the laser pointer doesn't really work on, you can't really see it. But the orange, for example, the orange section, that was a community work hub space. Well, we don't need that. We don't want to be competing against Castle Hill. So there's all kinds of things like that we'll be thinking about. And then that's the next floor up, and then the top floor. So thank you. I'm sure lots of people got all sorts of questions they want to ask about the project, but we're going to hand back over to the chair to close the meeting while we still core it, and then we'll have questions and answers, if that's okay.
Thank you very much indeed, Rachel. You can now begin to understand how much she's been putting into this entire project. Without Rachel, we would not be here either. We're very, very lucky to have her on board.
Well, thank you.
So thank you for that. That was impressive. I'm going to close the meeting now, because that way it will allow us a bit more flexibility. We've done everything we need to do in the formal part of the meeting, so I would officially declare this meeting closed. But please stay on for Q&A if you wish.
So
No, I was just going to say, does anyone
Possible at this stage to maybe elaborate on that and perhaps tell us exactly how that might manifest itself, particularly in relation to energy systems?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my other project management roles has actually been for Exeter Community Energy, and was doing a large solar array for an NHS trust, etc. So I have been quite involved in solar arrays. But at this stage now, it's more about making sure that the design team we pull together, so the architect, the quantity surveyor, the M&E consultants, that's mechanical and engineering consultants, that everybody we start to pull together is operating with, as I said, through an environmentally sustainable lens, and so that we're always considering that and how it sits with an historic building as well. It's quite hard to be able to tell you tangibly right now. Certainly, for example, our QS, I'm trying to think, like if we'd certainly look, if possible, to use a more kind of like sustainable alternative to maybe some plasterboards, or to some of the materials, like, you know, not using concrete, using hempcrete. Like, there's different things that we could try to ensure are in our cost plan from the QS. Then when it gets to delivery, we'll be making sure that we're buying kind of, you know, organic cotton for the beds. We're reducing, you know, keeping food miles to a minimum because we'd use local suppliers. It's about making sure that all procurement is always done with a thought as to how can we reduce our carbon footprint. And
I think our board is very conscious of that. I mean, I chair the climate change working group at TDC, for example, so I'm very involved in that kind of thing, and I think all the other board members are equally conscious of these situations, and I don't think there's anyone on the board who is not going to be supportive of that.
No, certainly I've been responsible for our £5 million project at Petrock for decarbonisation of the estate there, looking at air source, or developing and implementing air source heat pumps rather than traditional heating, etc. There are always trade-offs, as you will all know, between the costs associated with and the environmental benefits. And what I would say is any of you with skills and an understanding of that area, either through membership of the board or through the advisory panels, particularly I would suspect the business advisory panel, we would really welcome, and would welcome you to hold us to account for those decisions as well. We will ensure in our procurement rules that an environmental responsibility is there. What we don't want to do, however, is just trap ourselves into kind of greenwashing. We've used the acronym REBA quite a lot, and I have seen colleagues kind of putting their heads together and saying, what does REBA stand for? It's the Royal Institute of British Architects. Now, they have all sorts of kind of kite marks associated with environmental delivery, many of which actually are not really a great guide to the environmental sustainability of a building. So what we want is real commitment to reducing our carbon impact, to ensure that we're trading in a fair and equitable way, as Rachel has said, that we are sourcing locally, etc. And that will be a commitment right through the project. But again, I would hope that at the next AGM, we will be providing an environmental impact statement as to how we have managed that as part of the process. And we are all really committed to that. But again, it's your money. We want to spend your money wisely and have an open and functioning hotel that can work for the community, as well as one that is just a green icon in the building, in the community. So there will be trade-offs and balances.
Thank you for that question, David.
I would just add as well that there are particular funding pots available as well to ensure that, you know, a new capital build or refurbishment work is addressing all of that. And, you know, the funders that we are aiming for, you know, Historic England, Heritage Lottery, Architectural Heritage Fund, they all expect, you know what I mean, we can't, they expect those kind of measures to be considered in your design, and they offer support through their funding to enable that.
Yes. I'm sorry, could you just tell us your name as well?
Hello. Hi, my name's Andy. I'm particularly interested in the education side of all of this, the education and training. I just wondered which education providers you might have approached or what you were thinking about. But more particularly, I think, rather than having a top-down approach to that, is how much we've sort of consulted or thought about the local community and their educational needs in particular, and therefore what steps we needed to take to address those.
Who wants to take that? I mean, we do work with GTS. They know what we're doing. They've got. We certainly want to appeal to them.
Sorry, I know you're not got your Petroc hat on.
I haven't got my Petroc hat on, and I would have to declare an interest clearly as a paid employee of Petroc. But yes, our employer engagement team have been part of the conversations. They manage and support the apprenticeship delivery for Petroc. As many of you will know, Petroc is planning, subject to final decision, a merger with Exeter College. And again, that team have been consulted on how we might work. But not only that, we've used advice from Skern Lodge, who are an apprenticeship provider in their own right. We will take advice from PGL. And we will, as Doug has said, take advice from Great Torrington School. The landscape of training is changing rapidly at the moment. You may have heard changes being announced in Parliament today around vocational level qualifications. So we will keep absolutely up to date on all of that. And we will, through one of the advisory panels, the training advisory panel, be looking to a really wide community engagement on what the training needs are in the locality. Our ambition is that we grow and develop real skills for young people and older people that can be transferable into other employment opportunities, as well as through the Globe. And we do see the Globe as an opportunity to grow skills and talents that can then develop careers in the hospitality and initially in the building sector.
That's part of our primary ethos. We've always said right from the start, and we will start from as local a perspective as we possibly can. Some of the pupils who've left Great Torrington School, for example, have done extremely well in catering. I know 2 or 3 of them who've travelled the world and done brilliantly. So if we can capture them at that early stage, and they'll be part of our concept. So we're very, very much in favour of that.
And special needs provision in
We're obviously that's very much part of it. Yes, definitely. It sounds as if you're going to be part of one of our working groups. Thank you. So we're doing very well for getting people in working groups already. Thank you. Do we have any other? Yes, there's somebody over there. A lady over there.
Hello, Kyla Manenti. My question comes in 2 parts, I suppose. Are there or will there be any KPIs set against the objectives? And how will you ensure that shareholders are kept aware of how you're delivering against them?
Probably me, thanks. Yes, I mean, our objectives are integral to our business plan. Our business plan is the foundation of our funding applications. Therefore, our funders, whenever we achieve any of the funding, we have in our grant offer letters certain KPIs. So KPIs, key performance indicators. It's like, how do you prove that you're achieving what you said you would? And the important thing I always think is not, I mean, one of my other consultancy roles is I do monitoring and evaluation for projects, for national lottery projects, etc. So the important thing is not just having those KPIs, but actually monitoring and evaluating the work that you do, and applying it to those objectives and proving how you're managing to achieve. I can end up getting quite technical. You can have what's called a logic framework, and you kind of develop a framework that allows you to very easily quantify your performance in all these different areas. That is all part of our ongoing work. I'd say that's usually of the most interest to our funders. You know, you have to prove on every monthly report that you're hitting those indicators, or else you can't draw down the money. At the moment, most of ours are around, have you started repair work? Have you, procured your architect yet? It's things like that. they'll become more ethereal, like, have you made a difference to your community? Have you engaged? That's you know, and then we would be sharing that kind of information on our website and on annual reports. And I'd say some of that is kind of further ahead when we start delivering how we're going to make those changes in the community. You know, how many people are coming in to be trained, how many local jobs have we created, etc. So we'll have an annual report, which will include a whole kind of social impact section. In terms of how we'll keep our shareholders updated, there is our AGM, but of course, really you want to have a much more regular update than that. And during our build, it's always good practice to have a kind of monthly update that would be on our website as to what's happening within that month. Not only just telling people what's going on, but also warning communities about, you know, roads perhaps being closed or noise that might be happening, or etc., things like that. So it's good practice that we'd be kind of keeping our website updated.
I think the other thing, this may sound trite and it's not meant to, is that we need to be reminded regularly that we are your directors, that you own the building, not us, and that we need to be reporting to you in ways that are useful to you as a community. So whether that's events here, things on the website, etc. Again, I think what we need is two-way dialogue, so that the board is visible to you and you are visible to us. So again, through informal comms as well. Most of us are, well, we are all local residents. We all aim to be as visible as possible in the community. The Saturday drop-ins worked incredibly well from my perspective, and colleagues were really keen, I know, to keep those going through the summer. So those sort of events and opportunities, just to ensure that you see us as part of your community and can work for you, are really, really important. So again, anything that you can come up with that you think would help in terms of engagement with the community, we really, really want to hear.
And I'd add as well that while we've said that we're going to have a business and a training and a community panels, there will be as well a community consultation on the design. That's kind of hard baked into kind of the kind of planning process. Even if we don't need planning, it'd be really good practice for an organisation such as the CBS to have a community consultation on the design. So the architects and the design team will be there presenting why they've put the restaurant here and why is that there, and this is what they intend to do here. And that is a community event, and that's where there's a dialogue and you know, suggestions come backwards and forwards.
The last thing we want is to do the design ourselves and people turn around and say, well, it's not really what we wanted. It's your project, and we need a lot of feedback from everyone in here. So, yeah, absolutely. Anyone else?
Question at the back.
Yes,
Fran,
lady
behind you.
right at the back.
Oh.
Hi, my name is Fran Lovett. I just want to, on a very practical note, say when you start using the meanwhile use, which I think is a great notion indeed, having the meanwhile use, that we have somewhere to have coffee which is not open for the rest of the week. So if you like, the places in the town which we can't go, where we can't get anywhere, any coffees at the moment, but Sundays and Mondays, it'd be lovely if meanwhile use was going to be open at the Globe.
Fine.
And we'd certainly welcome volunteers to help us deliver those meanwhile uses as well.
We're doing very well on recruitment
So, yeah.
tonight, I have to say.
If you're if you're serving the coffee, you can have a free one.
My name's Bryony Garland. Talking about volunteers, I think, you know, the fact that the community has responded to this in such a way, probably having a very accessible way of getting to volunteers might be a very good idea, even if it's just, you know, coming in and clearing furniture out or scraping wall or whatever it is you need. I know builders cost, and a lot of what you do will have to be done by professionals, but as much as you can use the community, I suspect, DIY SOS this is the town to do it in.
Yeah.
Really. So, I mean, just some thought about how you keep that connection going as you go forward and using us, I think. I would appreciate that, because I think that's what the town's feeling is about this place.
Thank you very much for your kind offer.
Absolutely.
Do we have any other hand? I did see... Charlotte, was your hand up or not? It wasn't, sorry, you were just doing one of those. Sorry.
Was there a question at the front?
Nope. Nope. I think in that case, I think if we're all done, I mean, we're going to be here for a little while. If anyone wants to come and have a one-on-one with any of us, you're more than welcome. I would like to extend my tremendous thanks to you, not only for coming here tonight, but for the entire project, and thank you for your support. The list of people I should be thanking is endless, but I wouldn't even start to read through that list for fear of missing somebody out. But everybody, this is your project. Without you doing it, we would not all be here now. So thank you very, very much indeed. Thank you, everybody.